At Thanksgiving dinner, my stepdaughter raised her glass and said, "I'm thankful for Mom, and for putting up with the loser who thinks he's my real dad." Everyone laughed. I stood up, slid a sealed envelope across the table, said, "Happy Thanksgiving." She screamed when she read what was inside. I married Jennifer 12 years ago. Her daughter Madison was 9 then. I knew I wasn't her real father, but I tried. I really did. I paid for everything. Her braces, her car, her college tuition, private tennis lessons, spring break trips with friends. I never asked for gratitude, just basic respect. That was apparently too much. The disrespect started small. Eye rolls when I spoke, sighs when I offered help. By the time she turned 18, Madison had perfected the art of treating me like hired help who overstayed his welcome. Jennifer never corrected her. She'd just laugh it off or change the subject. 2 years ago, I overheard Madison on the phone with a friend. "He's not my real dad. He just pays for stuff. Mom says he's too weak to leave. It's basically free rent." Something inside me didn't break. It calcified. That night, I contacted a lawyer named Richard Brooks. I didn't want revenge. I wanted protection. We spent months building what Richard called a framework. The house I'd bought before marrying Jennifer was placed into a revocable trust with one special clause. If I was publicly humiliated or mocked by a family member in front of witnesses, they'd forfeit all access to the property and any financial support. I presented Jennifer with documents one morning over coffee. "Refinancing paperwork," I said. "New requirements this year." She signed every page while scrolling through her phone. Never read a word. The clause was buried on page 9 in small print. Her initials sat right next to it in blue ink. For 2 years, I waited. I didn't argue. I let Jennifer win every small battle. I stopped including Madison in my tax planning. I quietly moved accounts around, separated finances, and prepared the guest unit above my garage. I registered it under a separate LLC, my escape pod. Then came Thanksgiving. Jennifer's sister was visiting. Her parents, a few cousins, 14 people total crowded around the table I'd paid to expand. The turkey I'd bought, the wine I'd provided. Madison stood up during dessert, raised her glass, and smiled that cruel smile I'd learned to recognize. "I'm thankful for Mom," she announced, "and for putting up with the loser who thinks he's my real dad." Everyone laughed. Jennifer laughed. Her sister nearly spit out her wine. Her father slapped the table. I stood up, completely calm. I pulled the envelope from my jacket pocket and slid it across the table toward Madison. "Happy Thanksgiving," I said. Then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left. The envelope contained several documents, the trust amendment she'd triggered, a copy of the clause with Jennifer's signature, a notice that they had 30 days to vacate, and a small note that read, "You wanted to be sure I wasn't your dad. Now you are." What Madison didn't know was that I'd recorded her toast on my phone. What Jennifer didn't know was that the house had never been in her name. The cars were leased through my business. The utilities were in my name. The joint accounts were actually just her having access to my money, which I'd now restricted. By Monday, the locks were changed. The Wi-Fi password was different. Every streaming account was deactivated. Jennifer's credit cards declined. Madison couldn't access her car insurance. They called, texted, showed up at my office. Jennifer hired a lawyer who confirmed what Richard had already told me. Completely legal, completely enforceable, and completely their own fault. I gave them the courtesy of 30 days. Most people don't get that, especially not from someone they publicly humiliated while eating food he paid for. The house sold in January. The proceeds went to a scholarship fund for kids who lost parents in military service. I kept nothing except my dignity. Madison wanted to make sure I knew I wasn't her real father. Mission accomplished.